yamefanyika na Wakenya watakuwa na imani kwamba masuala ambayo yameweza kushuhudiwa humu nchini katika muda huo wa miezi 6, basi wanahabari wale wataweza kuyaweka wazi ama kutafuta majibu pengine ama na ufafanuzi zaidi kwa Mkenya akaweze kuelewa ni yepi ambayo rais anayapangia taifa hili na ni yepi ambayo pia Wakenya wangependa kuona yakifanyika katika taifa hili. Maswala mengi yameibuka katika muda huu wa miezi 6. Kwa hivyo na imani hapo ulipo pia wewe umekaa ange ukisubiri kusikia ni yepi ambayo yatakuwa yanazungumziwa katika kikao hiki ama mahojiano haya ya moja kwa moja kutoka Ikulu. Haya si mazungumzo ya kwanza, bali ni mazungumzo ama mahojiano ambayo yamekuwa yakifanyika humu nchini na Rais Ruto akiwa anachukua nafasi hiyo kueleza kwa mapana na marefu. Kumbuka kuna mengi yamefanyika na nafasi hii itakuwa pia ni bora kwake kuweza kufafanua zaidi. Ni mahojiano moja kwa moja, kwa hivyo kauli hizo zitakazokuwa zinatoka hapo basi zitakuwa ni kauli ama zitakuwa ni semi ambazo zitakuwa ni za moja kwa moja ambazo itakuwa unazifuatilia. Kama nilivyokufahamisha ni kwamba ni wanahabari kutoka vyombo mbalimbali vya habari. Huyu unayemuona ni Joe Ageyo ambaye anawakilisha NTV. Vile vile pale nimemuona Linus Kaikai ambaye anawakilisha Citizen na vile vile nikamwona Eric Latif. Kwa hivyo punde si punde mahojiano haya yatakapoanza basi itakuwa tunaupisha usukani huu moja kwa moja. Niruhusu ni kuage langu jina ni Kamchemenza. Usukani huu na urusha kwa Ikulu. Kwa heri.
Ruto coming to you from State House, Nairobi, at the request of State House. My name is Joe Ageyo, and in this interview, I will be joined by my colleague Linus Kaikai from Royal Media Services and Eric Latif from the Standard Media Group. And it's my colleague Linus Kaikai who's going to go with the first question of this interview.
Thank you, Your Excellency. The hashtag out there is Ruto must go. Doesn't need much interpretation, does it? Protesters want you out of office. How do you respond to that?
Everybody is entitled to their opinion. I have a job to do. We are a country of rules. We are a constitutional democracy and citizens, because we all enjoy the freedom of speech, freedom of thought. Citizens are free to engage in discourse that they want to, but that is what it is. Those are the fruits and signs of a democracy.
But this is no ordinary discourse, Mr. President. Over 20 people are dead. 39 are missing through state-driven abductions. And first, they're asking a very simple question. 24 people dead. Your Excellency, do you have blood on your hands?
I have no blood on my hands. 19 people. As a democracy, that should not be part of our conversation. 2.4 billion of property has been destroyed. The Office of the Chief Justice has been burnt. City Hall has been burnt. Parliament has been burnt. That is the situation.
Let's turn lives. Let's turn lives, Your Excellency.
19 people dead.
Your Excellency.
We have 19
I said
people
24.
Dead.
You said 19. Let's turn lives.
And number 2,
Your Excellency.
On abductions.
Your Excellency, let's turn lives. There are people who are burying their children, whether they're 19 or 24, and they're watching now and they want to see how you feel about the deaths. Give us your feelings, Your Excellency.
Let me tell you.
And we could give examples, Your Excellency. There is a 12-year-old boy, Kennedy Onyango from Rongai, whose mother narrated how his boy was basically just going to get books for his schoolwork. There is Rex Masai, who was shot in the middle of the street in Nairobi. And these are real human beings. Don't you feel a sense of responsibility for what is going on in the country?
Let me tell you the following. Any life that is lost is something that must bother anybody, beginning with myself. And it is the reason why I have told you that when I came into office, I said three things. Number one, I said there will be no extrajudicial killing in Kenya. That's number one. And I have made sure that there is no extrajudicial killing in Kenya. That's number one. Number two, when I came into office, I said I want an independent police service. And I did sign the necessary instruments so that the police does not need permission, does not need authority, and does not report to the office of the president. The police operational, financial independence, I have made sure that the police don't have to ask me, don't ask anybody. They operate independently. And number four, it is true that children got into situations that they became victims of the demonstrations. What started to all of us, and I have spoken about it, I have said, the young people who have stepped forward to engage in the political discourse of their country in a peaceful manner, tribeless, are a welcome development in Kenya. That I said. But let me also say the following. These great young people who have stepped forward to prosecute their agenda, the affairs of the country, I am certain that they did not ban parliament. Criminals and other agents who took advantage of a legitimate concern of Kenyans stepped in, went and banned the Chief Justice's office, went and banned City Hall, went and banned Parliament, and destroyed property of innocent citizens.
The parents, Mr. President,
So
what are you telling them? These things have happened under your watch.
I am telling
under your watch.
I am telling every parent, I have kids like they do. And I care when there are issues in town where criminals can take advantage of situations and create a situation where the police have to use rubber bullets, the police have to use live bullets in some cases, because that is what an independent police service has to do. And I am sure the police have a record and have an explanation for every incident that they were engaged in.
And here is the incident, Mr. President. Here is the incident, Mr. President. This boy, 12-year-old, took 8 bullets into the body of a 12-year-old boy. What would you tell the mother of that boy?
That boy is alive, right?
No, it's not.
Kennedy Onyango died.
He's dead.
So he's the one who died.
Yes.
So you're not talking about the person who was shot with rubber bullets?
No.
No.
Yeah?
Shot with bullets 8 times.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
in Ngong, this is the situation in Ngong, right? In Ngong, there was an incident where the police were overpowered by criminals. They took firearm from the police. They used that firearm against people. And one policeman had to shoot this fellow who had hijacked a gun from a policeman so that not to endanger the lives of more citizens. It is among the 3 people. One of the criminals is among the 3 people who was shot by the police after they overpowered the police and took the bullet and took the gun from the police and used it against innocent citizens. I cannot confirm to you that this is not the man that shot the child, but investigations are going on and we will get to the bottom of it.
Mr. President,
I am telling the mother of this young person that I, as president, will make sure that finally I will give her an explanation of what really happened and make sure that we bring this to a situation where, like her, like myself who have children, she too can be, her child can be accounted for.
Mr. President, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights is the one that has accounted for 24 bodies lying in morgues. And those bodies, the records show that these people either died in hospital and while undergoing treatment for gunshot wounds, or they ended up in the morgue in the last 2 weeks with gunshot wounds. 24. These 24, Mr. President, are you saying that the security agencies have told you that these 24 were criminals, that these 24 were armed, they were posing a danger to the police officers, and that is what necessitated the police to use live bullets on them? Because the circumstances for the police officer to use a live bullet is clear, even in their own code of operations. It is when the life of that police officer is in danger, or when somebody else's life is clearly in danger, and the person who is endangering that person is armed. Were the 24 armed? Did they pose a danger, a direct threat to the police?
2 things. The same Kenya Human Rights Commission,
Kenya National Commission.
Kenya National Commission.
The government agency.
Yeah, the government agency.
Yes.
Told the nation that there was a massacre in Githurai and 20 people were killed in Githurai. Were 20 people killed in Githurai? Really?
The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights does not have records of 20 people killed.
No, but that's their statement. It is a statement that is public, you know? So the same Kenya Human Rights, Kenya Commission, Human Rights, National Human Rights Commission told the country a blatant fake news falsehood that there was a massacre.
This 24 is also...
Let me, you asked me a question, allow me to answer.
Yes.
That's what they told the country. So an organization that can tell the country without verifying that there was a massacre in Githurai. In fact, BBC, on that account, went to investigate in Githurai. And of course, you know, you have read, BBC has said there was no massacre in Githurai.
Mr. President,
there was one person who was shot by the police. Let me answer. So, an organization that is as reckless as to say there was a massacre when there was none, now is telling us there are 24, the police are saying 19. We will find out where the numbers are. Okay. But that is the credibility of the organization that you are telling.
Mr. President, that may well be.
Let me also...
My question, Mr. President,
was... so that Eric can follow up.
The people who died...
Yeah, that's where I'm coming.
Were they a danger to the police?
That's where I'm coming.
Are they the criminals that you're talking about?
Let me tell you 2 things. There will be an investigation on how these 19 Kenyans died. There will be a clarity, an explanation for each and every one of them. I have told you one situation where somebody accosted the police, took over the firearm, started to shoot at people, endangering the lives of many other Kenyans. He was shot by the police. There is a situation in Parliament. How did the invaders in Parliament? They invaded Parliament and went straight for the armory at the Mausoleum. They went straight at the armory at the Sergeant-at-Arms office. Those are the investigations that we will get into, and a proper explanation will be given to the country.
Are weapons lost?
What I am saying...
Are the weapons at the armories and the mausoleum and inside Parliament?
That is why there will be an investigation of how these armories were attacked and how did these people know that there was an armory in Parliament?
Mr. President, you may not believe the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, but surely you would believe your own deputy who has said there's been a return to extrajudicial killings and abductions, contrary to what you and him promised the people of Kenya.
Let me tell you, I am the president, and I speak for the government of Kenya, right? And so this is what I'm telling you. I made 3 commitments. That I will make sure the police is independent. And I did that on my first day in office. Number 2, I said there will be no extrajudicial killing in Kenya. I have kept my promise. Number 3, I have told you that if there is any arrest by the police, that does not amount to an abduction. In my very honest opinion.
Let's pause for a moment, Mr. President, and I just want us to go to that video over there, which will play on air, and let's pause and watch it together, Your Excellency. Let's watch this video.
Sell them to the people of Kenya. There are enough intelligent people in Kenya to differentiate what is good from what is better and what is best.
Ni jambo mbaya sana kama tutatumia askari polisi wako na maoni tofauti ya kisiasa.
And waeleza ya kwamba these people don't understand the damage they are doing to the people and the economy of Kenya.
All right. All right.
Yeah, yes, the video in contention here was recorded earlier today.
Yes.
That of former MP Alfred Keter being abducted in broad daylight. Mr. President, before you even talk about the entire incident, the children were screaming, and a sound that we believe belongs to the wife was also heard, screaming in distress. How does that make you feel?
3 things. I have told you, I made a deliberate decision to make sure that the police operate independently. That's number 1. Number 2, I have told you, if the police summon Linus Kaikai, and Linus Kaikai refuses to go to the police, are the police not entitled to come and look for you? When the police come to arrest you after they have summoned you and you didn't show up, is that an abduction?
So let's have this as a confirmation. That
no, I'm just asking you.
Let's have this as a confirmation, Your Excellency, that Alfred Keter was summoned by police. He refused to
the police
respond
have
to
issued
the
a
summons.
statement. I would suggest, instead of us having a back and forth, the police have released a statement. Can you check what the police have released, the statement?
And you still not answered my question.
Which
the
was?
wife and children screaming that way.
I mean,
how do you feel, Your Excellency?
I mean, my friend, every child, every mother feels the same when their parent is under attack. I mean, that is what it is. But let me ask you, what about the children? What about the children of those who have lost their lives because of the criminality of others? Don't they feel the same? So we just need to be a country of the rule of law. Impunity cuts both ways. Those who respect the law must be protected by the law. Those who do not respect the law must face the full force of the law. That's how it operates. That's how we will have a society.
Here's
the same way, we must condemn excessive use of police powers, but we must equally deal firmly and decisively with criminals who put the lives of other Kenyans in danger, destroy property of hard-earned earnings. There are many people, Linus, in this demonstration that have lost livelihoods, that today their children are crying. Today their wives are in tears because they don't know how to face tomorrow.
Mr. President,
their businesses have been wiped out.
Yeah.
Their incomes have been destroyed. I have just told you 2.4 billion shillings worth of business has been destroyed. And today, as I talk to you this evening, there are families who have tears. There are families who do not know how to face tomorrow.
And I've asked you very specifically, President, how do you feel about those tears, especially those who have been killed by police bullets?
It is horrible. It is horrible. When you find a situation where people are grieving, whether they are grieving because their parents have been arrested, or they are grieving because their hard-earned earnings of many years, monies there I have on my phone. People who are saying, I borrowed money. My whole loan has been wiped out. My whole barbershop has been destroyed. My whole hardware has been looted and burnt. And they are in tears. So I must equally work with the police to protect all these citizens. And it cuts both ways, Linus. It cuts both ways.
Using the rule of law.
Absolutely.
Let me take you to just step by step.
Absolutely. The rule of law.
The rule of law says. The rule of law requires the police to investigate a matter, to, when they have sufficient evidence, present that to the ODPP. The Director of Public Prosecutions takes people who are culpable to court. That's the journey in the rule of law, Mr. President. In the case of 39 people who have been abducted, and the abduction here, we're using it deliberately because of the manner in which the people have been arrested, like we've seen in the case of Alfred Keter. Others who've been picked up from their houses in the middle of the night, and they are held incommunicado for more than 24 hours outside of what the rule of law says. And then they are not taken to court, so they are not charged with anything. That is outside of the rule of law. So in one instance here, we are saying we are not following the rule of law. In the second instance, Mr. President, you have people who were unarmed, like in the case of Rex, who was shot in the middle of the night, unarmed, who have been shot by police and they've ended up dead. 24 of them. You say 19. That again is extrajudicial because there is no justification that has been produced to show that there was justification for the police to use the excessive force. So basically we are showing examples where the rule of law, which you promised to uphold, which you also set and said, this is what the police has been doing. And you said, Mr. President, as you took office, that the problems with the police service also are going to the top, the leadership of the police service. And you promised the people of Kenya that you're going to hold the police to account outside of the rule of law and accountability, which comes to your desk. Are you holding the police accountable for 39 people abducted, for 24 people killed, for 627 people arrested and not charged, for 431 people injured by live bullets, rubber bullets, tear gas canisters, police batons?
Latif, as I have told you, we must operate within the parameters of the rule of law. And I agree with you. The police must never act outside the framework of the rule of law. They must do that which only the Constitution and the law allows them to do. And it is very clear that any operation of the police outside the parameters of the law, the police will be held to account. Whether it is holding citizens beyond the stipulated time, but I must be thoroughly clear to you. when police arrest somebody, there is a constitutional timeline which they are allowed by the law to hold that person.
24 hours.
That does not amount to an abduction.
24 hours.
In my opinion. A case in point is what has just been said here about what happened earlier today. And you guys clearly said in this conference that it was an abduction. I mean, it's just clear now that it is not an abduction.
They're not
This is an arrest. And the police have come forward to say, this is the situation, we have arrested this person, and it is just good for us to all of us follow the law. And I agree with you, the police must act within the law. But let me ask you one question also, Latif. I have never, in this conversation, which is now 20 minutes in, are you guys bothered about the fact that Parliament was burnt? Are you guys concerned that millions of businesses of Kenyans, hardworking Kenyans, were destroyed? How do you feel?
But it all happened.
How do you feel?
It all happened under your watch, Mr. President.
No, but this is
at the end of the day,
this is why we are saying
you sought to keep us safe.
We must be even. You know, we must be even. The police have a difficult job. They have to make sure the peaceful demonstrators are protected. But they also must make sure that the criminals, and when you say criminals, you know, when I said the other day criminals, many people took offense that I was calling the demonstrators criminals. That's not.
Families of the dead, Your
That is not.
That's a lot of offense. Family of Rex. Rex was killed in a week when the protesters were very peaceful. The first week of these protests were peaceful. We saw protesters carrying
Placards.
And water bottles.
Water bottles. Rex was killed on his way out of work.
Let me.
How do you feel? I mean,
let me tell you.
When they hear you say criminals.
I mean, are you telling me Rex is the one who burned Parliament?
But Rex died without breaking anything.
No, I'm just telling you.
He died.
You know, Rex
There are criminals who infiltrated and caused mayhem. And in fact, some of the criminals are actually harmed. They actually harmed the peaceful protesters. Many of the peaceful protesters, they lost phones. They were attacked. In fact, some of the peaceful protesters were attacked by criminals, including a clear example of the one I have explained to you, that they overpowered the police, took the gun from the police, and started shooting innocent people. So we must deal with this situation globally.
Mr. President.
I feel for Rex and the mother. This should not happen to any child in Kenya, especially when they are engaged in a peaceful demonstration.
Mr. President, the concern I've heard from the young people, because I've been speaking to a lot of them, and they said they haven't heard you in the two statements. Actually, there are more now because you have spoken in other settings apart from the two addresses you gave. They haven't heard you address them. They haven't heard you talk to these parents. They haven't heard you acknowledge that there were people who were shot by police in circumstances that did not warrant that. Are you saying you haven't seen anything that bothers you about how police responded to these protests?
I am very, and I have, and in my first statement, I clearly said that innocent lives were lost. In my second statement, I said the same. There were innocent lives lost. But also equally, as a person who is responsible, I must think about those who are suffering because they were innocent, but I must also be concerned about those who are suffering because criminals cause them immense harm. And that is the balance that I need to be able to lead a country. I must protect everybody. I must protect the protesters, and I must be concerned about their lives. I must also protect innocent people who become victims of criminals who take advantage of a peaceful, democratic process that goes on in our country.
Do you feel that you protected all those people in the last couple of days, whether it is people who have businesses, whether it is Parliament, whether it is the people who lost their children?
I did my best. If I hadn't done what I did, things would have been much worse. In fact, many people ask me, Mr. President, why did you call in the army? I mean, what choice did I have? I mean, it would have been very reckless of me in the face of the kind of harm people had gone through, the 19 lives that were already lost, in the face of a burning Chief Justice office, Parliament, and the rest of it. I mean, it would have been very reckless of me not to mobilize every arm of government and every arm of our security agencies to protect the country and to protect lives.
You acted as Commander-in-Chief. You also acted as President, Head of Government, and the person who took the sword and promised to protect the people of Kenya. You chair the National Security Council, which brings in the head of the police, the head of the intelligence, the head of the military, and cabinet secretaries in those dockets. Did you have information prior to Tuesday that there was going to be infiltration of the peaceful demonstrations by the criminal elements that you've talked about more than once? And if you did, what did you do about it?
We had information, and that is why we prepared in the manner in which we did. If we hadn't prepared in the manner in which we did, we would not be counting 19. We would be counting different numbers.
Okay.
And I am telling you that the level of mobilization by criminals was heavy. In fact, many of the peaceful protesters, many of the young people, very well-meaning young people, left the town by 10, maybe 11, because they realized, and in fact you could hear them in their zelo. They were saying, guys, this is not our group. Let us go. Let us leave. You could hear them. It was in public domain that the peaceful demonstrators all of a sudden realized that the whole thing had metamorphosed into criminality.
So there were criminal elements that basically hijacked. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it is Sunday. Mr. President, how many people are in custody on account of this? Those who you said they conducted treasonous activities, there were criminal elements.
You will see them in court tomorrow.
How many people are in custody?
You will see them in court tomorrow. The police know what I have a ballpark brief by the police that they have enough people. They have actually, because in Kenya nowadays, you cannot commit crime and get away with it. Those who attacked Parliament are on CCTV. Those who attacked the judiciary are on CCTV. Those who attacked everywhere, those who destroyed people's shops are on CCTV. Many of them are on the run, but we will catch them.
Similarly, Your Excellency.
Are the funders
similarly, Your
and
Excellency.
in
Similarly.
So to your question, so the police are at it, because if we don't deal with impunity, we will not have a country.
Now, similarly, Your Excellency, you speak of them, protesters being on CCTV.
Not the protesters, I'm saying the criminals who attacked Parliament.
Right. Now, every policeman also, without uniform, conducted an abduction, has also been captured on camera. Those who captured Shad Kiprono were captured on camera. Those who captured Alfred Keter today were captured on camera. And a number of other such incidents. Similarly, so that because I can hear you balancing.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, are we going to see action against the killer cops, or were they doing what you are saying you had to do to prevent this from being bad?
Any killer cop who went beyond what is provided for in the law, action will be taken against them. But to your question, are you telling me, Linus, that a police officer becomes only a police officer when they are in uniform? No. Police officers can identify themselves even when they are in civilian. So, and when a police officer comes to you and says, this is my ID, I am police officer, you are under arrest for the following reasons, that is legitimate. You cannot tell me that because they were in civilian, then what they did was wrong.
And you know that's not what they do. And that's not what they did to Alfred Keter or Shad Kiprono.
Were you there?
We have the CCTV footage. It's there.
I would suggest, Linus, that we be fair to the police as well.
Mr.
And I have given you my word. Any police officer who does anything beyond the provisions of the law know the consequences. Just as any citizen who also participates in actions that are outside the law, they also know the consequences. And it is our responsibility to make sure that security agencies act in accordance with the law. As citizens, we act in accordance with the law so that we can have a law-abiding, rules-based, rule of law-based country.
As things stand now, Mr. President, are you satisfied with how the police handled this whole matter?
I think the police have done the best they could. If there are any excesses, we have mechanisms to make sure that those excesses are dealt with.
Let's wrap it this way, Your Excellency, on that topic. You have absolutely no regrets about the abductions and no regrets about the killings?
Those are your words. Those are not mine.
They're also your deputy's words.
Don't put words in my mouth.
They're also your deputy's words, and it's part of your government, because it's so scary, Mr. President, sitting there and telling the whole country that from this moment on, we should not believe what your deputy tells us about the state of the nation until you speak. Yet we all thought that you're part of the same government.
Don't inject my deputy into this conversation. I think it is not fair, since he's not here, to tell you in what context he said whatever he said. I think it is not proper to discuss the deputy president here, and he's my deputy. Please let me deal.
But have you asked him that you had a press conference?
Let me deal with the issues as they are now. I think being personal and going that direction does not help.
I wish this was personal, Mr. President, but it's a really serious national issue that right after you spoke, your deputy told the whole world that he was informing us that extrajudicial killings and abductions had returned to this government that he's part of. How surely can that be personal, Mr. President?
I am sure that if you interview the deputy president, he will answer that appropriately.
You haven't asked him?
You can take it from me that extrajudicial killing will not be part of an administration that I run. I can say that without fear of contradiction.
Yes, in the interest of moving this conversation forward, Your Excellency, I want us to look into the last 2 extraordinary weeks that this country has had. Protests that you called tribeless and some of your aides called leaderless. But protests that are led by